It was July 2021. That's roughly 3.5 years ago that we did a Kickstarter preview for a game called Soul Raiders. Well, it is now January 2025, and it just got delivered. And I gotta tell you, I'd kind of forgotten about it.
Yeah.
As a brief reminder, this is kind of a unique, it's not a dungeon crawl, it's not a point-and-click adventure, but it's somewhere between a very narrative sort of experience. There is some little miniatures, but it's not what you'd think in terms of like tactical combat or anything like that.
No, very much more like that point-and-click adventure style, like I called it like Seventh Continent Light, like that kind of.
Yeah, I would say it's like
focus on exploration kind of thing.
Seventh Continent meets maybe some other
Splendor,
type of game.
Maybe?
Not Splendor, but it is designed by Marc-Andre, which is wild because you'd never
Show
think
some
like,
range.
If you looked at this game and went, "Oh, is this designed by Marc-Andre?" No one is
Right.
saying that. And speaking of the game, you can see it right here. I'm going to open it up. First of all,
huge.
It's a giant book. We'll put up some pictures, but it's a giant book. It actually has a kind of rounded edge like a book. And this is the Grimoire edition.
The collector's edition, right?
The
Basically.
sort of extra nice version of the game. Magnetic flap, of course. Always a big fan of that. I'm going to open this thing up.
It's insane. Look at that art. Look at that piece of artwork. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I will say, now we just got this, so we haven't played it again, but I did play the prototype when we were doing the content, and I remember finding it very unique. I liked it quite a bit because it takes that experience of sort of a fantasy adventure and makes it incredibly accessible, and sort of the simplicity is a very elegant system with the way you're playing your cards. But you've got the rule book, which isn't too overwhelming. You know, it's pretty...
No, I mean, it's a lot of examples, which is always good to have.
Yeah, it's got a ton of visual examples. Like right off the bat, it talks about the card system somewhere right here. It gives examples. Here are the things you could do. Here's how you could use these cards to do them. Really cool system. I don't even know. This is probably some sort of just looks like a lore book.
And it's a Marc-Andre universe, they're calling it. So I wonder
yeah, that's actually something I didn't remember from when we did the content. They called this... Soul Raiders is a game by Marc-Andre that uses the Running Quest game system.
So it seems like maybe there will be more than just this one.
Depends on if this is successful.
This is Kevros that we're looking at here.
Oh, is that the part of the world, maybe?
Nice hardcover book.
The production, again, is
insane.
Kind of off the charts. This is the game board. Now, you have this out. It has some events here. It's going to track your what they call vitae, which is your health points around the outside edge. And then you're going to draw 4 cards at the beginning, but as you lose vitae throughout the game, you're drawing fewer and fewer cards, which is kind of one of the weird things about the game is because it makes it feel more challenging and more challenging. Because at the beginning, you're like...
When you
use your cards to do something, you might use 3 of the cards, combining the numbers to do a big thing, but then you have 1 card left. Or you could do 4 little things in a round with each of the cards. If you're drawing 2,
it's tough.
It's like these are the 2 cards you have. But that is the game board.
Your characters here.
This thing I will pull out so we can open it up and show you. Everything has a nice texture to it too. But this is just a simple thing that has all the miniatures. Characters. And all the characters, I can't quite remember. They all have like a few different versions. There's a standard version, there's an invisible version, then they've got these purple versions. I don't remember everything. And then there's these portals because you can actually go through portals in certain places.
It looks like it gives each character a deck box too.
Yeah, those are empty right now, but there are character decks that are specific to each character. And then you can actually level up. Yeah, you can pull those out there because there's actually the player boards underneath. It is packed in there pretty tightly.
6 different characters, plus 6 different playable characters.
Little boxes for I think the potions and something else.
Looks like maybe where you'll keep your cards throughout the game.
You've got this campaign notebook. So one thing I didn't really pick up on when we did the content, that as I was reading the rules, it sounds like this almost has a roguelike aspect where you want to play through it multiple times. There are 3 chapters, and you can play through each of the 3 chapters, which is a pretty robust experience. We'll open up one of these in a second. But they have all these tracking sheets for each time you play through.
So you can get more and do
So
more and
you
see
can
more.
definitely experience
Kind of like
a lot
Sleeping
of
God
different
style. You might want to take
Probably.
different choices and explore different ways.
because you're never going to be able to do all the things
I
for
want to see
sure.
the player boards.
Oh yeah, the player boards are fairly simplistic. Like this is a player board.
Oh, they're cool looking. They didn't go dual layer on the player boards.
No, there's nothing that really goes on them. You kind of play your cards off to the right, you
Gotcha.
keep your deck here, and then there's these tokens that you can put under here, and then each character has effectively a bonus to a few different skills. So as you come across things like this tinkering skill to unlock something, they'd have a +1,
That's
they'd have
a
a
lot.
+2.
And then
that
we
sort of
have the 3 different chapters. And then what are these?
Those are the boxes
here?
that hold the
Oh
cards.
my gosh.
You can open that one.
That's a lot of cards.
I've cracked open, I think, this one with the
Yes,
cards.
you did. You must have, because this one is not. But these are all action cards
So
and
as a,
enemy cards.
As a reminder, this is what the cards look like for one of the characters. And you're always able to use the number on the top. So if you have a challenge that you're facing that says this takes a 5, you can disregard the rest of the card and just use, that would be 5. But if I'm doing a movement action, I'm also going to do this. So if I'm using 5 to move, or if I needed something, say, like that required 12,
number.
I'd have 5 here, but then a +2 for each action card, so that's another 4
And times
2. So you can see how combining these cards lets you do some of the things that you
Yeah,
need to get
gets
done.
to those
which is
bigger
kinda
numbers.
cool.
And then what are the all items?
I don't know.
here?
Like I don't remember seeing
Got
a
a bunch
lot
of
of
items.
other cards.
Oh, artifacts, ally cards.
Yeah, there's probably some spoilers.
I'm
in
not
here.
going to look through these too much, but it definitely looks like these are things that you're going to be getting. Yeah, they're numbered on the back. Oh, that's what goes in that other one, is your numbered card. So it's probably going to tell you when to draw these specific allies and stuff.
And then in the bottom here, we have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I'll show chapter 1 here.
A little bit. No spoilers here.
No, there won't be any spoilers, but there's a couple envelopes. I have no idea what those are. In our prototype, we literally had, I think, 9 of these
Yeah,
sheets.
this is a lot more.
And all of the artwork, when you're in an area, looks like this. It's kind of this isometric, or not necessarily
it
isometric.
looks like that point and click style
But very
game.
scenic,
wanna
where you're
click
like,
here,
ooh,
click here.
we could go here. And so, for example, like I was saying, you find yourself here, and it's going to take 8 movement to go visit location 9, because you're going down a bunch of steps. But just to go through this door, it costs 4 movement. And there's a lot of information here that I won't go into detail, but like if it's a green arrow and you're fighting things here, you could quickly just use 8 to
run
move.
away.
And if it's green, you can run away. But if it's not, if it's one of these arrows, they'll actually come with you, because when you engage the enemies, they kind of sit in front of your player space. The game is really wild because, and we did content, if you want to take a look at it, it's a pretty decent video that explains the game pretty thoroughly. But players, when you're playing this with a bunch of people at the table, everyone can kind of go off and do their own thing.
That's the cool,
like,
that's the cool part to me. The
I
interesting hook.
could go into the 2 area and Ryan could go to the 9, splitting up.
Yeah, you
but
each
it
draw your
might
own
not be-
cards, and you've got your own little.
Yeah,
thing
it
in
might
front
not
of
be
you.
a great idea, but it requires a lot of communication, because we all on that main board share things like threat.
Yeah.
And our vitae is a shared thing. It's not per character. So if Ryan goes somewhere and our threat goes up, and it's while something is happening to me where something happens, a number of monsters come out based on our threat level, whatever he just did raised our threat, so now I'm facing more monsters all of a sudden.
Yeah, and you can even see, just even from showing that one brief one and whatever David's putting up with pictures here, you can kind of already see that this is a game where you're making choices. And that is a big reason why they have that replayability baked in, because every time you go through one of those paths, you could be encountering more paths and making different decisions on the course of the game. That's why I kind of compared it to Seventh Continent earlier, because you just start off and you're like, we could go in 4 different directions, and then you might never even see what happens on the other 3 directions, which is what's going to encourage you to kind of go back and play it again and say, okay, well, let's go left this time and go down a whole maybe even different arc than what we had the first time.
Yeah, and like we said, we haven't played this edition. We just got it, but I wanted to do a video because I got to tell you, this showed up late last night, and I wouldn't shut up about it to
it's awesome.
Elisha. I was like, I couldn't get over how well this is presented. Like even on the spine of the box, where it looks like the spine of the book would be, there's like a little cloth strip, like a real binding, And I don't know if that was just for show or if they had to do that because of how they did this.
Yeah, you said, can I show you some pictures of this game? And I looked at it, I had like 14 notifications. So yeah, I got to see quite a. It was very exciting.
It's also massive, and I'll put up a picture with a size comparison. I brought out Weather Machine and put it beside it, and it made Weather Machine look like a cute little game in terms of the size of the box.
Now that we're kind of showing you it all, I mean, like it's as big as you are. Like, look at that thing. I mean, and it is cool. Now you can kind of better see that spine too.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have this and that everything kind of stays. Well, everything is in boxes and everything has lids, so nothing is going to get really shuffled around inside there.
Yeah, really, really nice production. We will get this played and try to get maybe some more content up on it. I don't know that we'll do a playthrough because it might spoil.
It's going to be a lot of reading too, and it's like a lot of reading and exploring.
It might not be exactly an exciting watch, but we'll get it played and let you know what we think about it after we get a little more time with it. But if you have any more questions about it at all right now, please make them in the comments below. We'll get down there and answer whatever we can. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.